tubing down hills. It's probably one of the funnest things you could do in this fake ass fucking snow.
Over the past week, I've been seeing everywhere on X and across the internet that the snow from this biblical snowstorm seems a little off, like it's too powdery, or in some cases even feels like styrofoam. There are actually people on the internet claiming that this is fake snow, that somehow the whole snowstorm was engineered. And then it got me thinking of my video that I made a few months back talking about geoengineering and how it's pretty much proven that they can actually manipulate the weather. So is this snowstorm that we've been experiencing this week actually man-made? Today we're going to uncover all of the evidence that points to this actually being legitimate. Before we can talk about snowstorms in 2026, we have to go back to 1976. In 1976, the United Nations signed into effect the Convention on the Prohibition of Military or any other hostile use of environmental modification techniques, or the NMOD Treaty. Most people have literally never heard of this, and neither did I up until recently. But during Vietnam, the United States was doing anything and everything it could to get an advantage over its enemy. Operation Popeye is a real U.S. military operation where they actually seeded the clouds over Vietnam to manipulate the weather, to extend monsoons, flood supply routes, and to basically just disrupt the enemy. When word of this got out, it caused global backlash, leading directly to the NMOD Treaty. So in 1976, the United Nations signed a treaty to not manipulate the weather for military purposes. That's absolutely mind-blowing if you've never heard this before. The slight caveat to this treaty was that it banned all nations from manipulating the weather for hostile military purposes. But you can still manipulate the weather for any other reason. So the NMOD Treaty does not ban weather modifications for civilian purposes, for research purposes, and for peaceful uses, whatever that means. Direct proof that in the 60s, they had the technology to manipulate and actually control the weather. And with 99% of technology, it gets better over time, not worse. So imagine the capabilities of this cloud seeding today. And it's not just the United States that's doing this. It's all countries that have the capability. In 2009, every mainstream media outlet reported that China was artificially creating snowstorms. China's artificially induced snow closes 12 highways. China closed 12 highways brought on after seeding clouds 313 cigarette-sized sticks of silver iodine were fired into the clouds. So again, direct proof that they can control the weather and make it snow and even manipulate the density of the snow that's falling. Later that year in 2009, more articles came out. Artificial snowstorms brings chaos to Beijing. Chinese scientists have officially induced the second major snowstorm to wreak havoc in Beijing this season. If they had possessed the technology in 2009 to directly create snowstorms, do you think that this technology just went away? Fast forward to 2025. In November, the biggest geoengineering researcher, Dane Wigington, was on the Tucker Carlson podcast, and he talks about this exact thing of them creating snowstorms.
And these programs are historical record. The Chinese government's so successful at, for example, engineering snowstorms. Tucker, do you remember the blizzard in New Orleans this January? You remember that?
No, I don't.
There was a blizzard in New Orleans, first time in recorded history. There was a blizzard in Florida, blizzards on the Gulf Coast. That was January 21st, by the way. That's an interesting date to have that happen. These are demonstrations of what climate engineering can do, and the Chinese government has...
So basically he's saying that they've engineered last January a snowstorm in New Orleans. around the exact same dates that this took place this year. Pretty crazy.
Long since openly stated they were engineering snowstorms with endothermic reacting elements. These are patented elements that can literally transition what should be a liquid precipitation event, a rain event, into snow. And these elements, if people understand they have a first aid kit that sits on their shelf at room temperature for 20 years, you mix the cold pack together, you have ice instantly. That's an endothermic reacting element. Do you remember the deep freeze in Texas, Tucker, a few years ago, 5 years ago, something like
Yes,
that? Remember
very well. Yeah, it shut down a lot of their grid.
Correct. So when it was below zero in Dallas, it was 33 degrees warmer at the North Pole. Think about that. And that's what we're not told. So when you have, let's look at the COP climate conferences.
Absolutely mind-blowing. Do you think that they could actually have engineered this snowstorm just literally 2 weeks ago? Well, in January of this year, a new cloud seeding study was released. This article, titled New Cloud Seeding Study Over Northern Wasatch Range Likely the Largest in State History. For decades, cloud seeding has been a part of Utah's strategy to stretch its water supply. This winter, scientists are taking a much closer look at whether the practice actually delivers results. Cloud seeding involves pumping silver iodine into the atmosphere. The goal is to better understand how cloud seeding affects snowfall and spring runoff. This is a study about cloud seeding that's literally taking place right now. Scientists expect at least 2 years of analysis before making final conclusions. These universities are conducting a study to test the effects of cloud seeding, not whether or not cloud seeding is taking place. Then it just really begs the question, was this specific snowstorm a product of cloud seeding? Dane Wigington was just recently on the Jimmy Dore show, and he's talking about this snowstorm. He believes that it's completely engineered. Let's take a look.
Plethora of toxic elements being dumped into that record warm moisture out of the record warm Gulf of Mexico and Gulf of California. That is highly toxic material. That map is telling. There's not a meteorologist that can walk and chew gum that doesn't know that is absolutely engineered. You cannot create a temperature gradient like that with any natural hydrological cycle. That is engineered top to bottom.
So explain to me what I'm looking at, how this show proves that this is an engineered weather pattern that's happening right now, this huge snowstorm that's cutting across the United
Yeah, see, it's January 25th through 29, 2026.
States and this cold snap. So tell me what this map shows us.
If you went back 20 years, you would never, or 20 years or further, you would never find anything that even remotely resembled that map. Weather moves in the northern hemisphere from west to east because of the Coriolis effect of the planet, because of the spin.
Right.
So how can it be record warm in the west and record cold in the east? That's patently wrong. So they high pressure dome with frequency transmission facilities, which are weapons of mass destruction, like in Alaska. They can superheat the ionosphere, creates a massive expanding bulge in the atmosphere up and down. That creates a high pressure dome in the northern hemisphere, which spins the upper level wind currents clockwise. So picture that red spot of above normal or record high temperatures, a high pressure dome that rotates clockwise, rotating all the moisture from the Pacific around it, or a low pressure zone below it, rotating below it. So they're spinning the moisture around the west, chemically nucleating it. And those are patented processes, by the way. These are endothermic reacting materials. Chinese government openly announced they're doing exactly this on a massive scale. All mainstream media covered it. If you bring it up here, they marginalize you. So they're seeding this cloud moisture with climate engineering aircraft, not the single engine propeller driven kind, but the kind that dump 100 tons in a single payload. And those endothermic reacting elements, in many cases, because this moisture is now so warm, it's reaching the surface, Jimmy, before it sets up. And that's why you're about to have massive ice storms, hugely destructive ice storms, because these materials aren't setting up until they reach the surface.
I mean, I don't know anything about weather patterns and stuff like that, but this does make sense. It seems like if climate change was actually real and the Earth was going through big shifts of cold and hot, the whole country would be cold or hot. really makes you question whether or not these snowstorms are actually real. Not that they're not real. I live in New York and this snow is definitely real. Not real in the fact that these storms are man-made or the effects of them are enhanced by geoengineering. And I will say the snow is very powdery. I mean, not that I've never seen or felt snow like this in my life. It just does seem extra fluffy and powdery, and whether or not that's evidence that it's man-made, I'm just throwing that out there. But I want to know what you guys think. Is this snowstorm of 2026 man-made or just another crazy snowstorm? Let me know in the comments down below. If you made it this far into the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel because we have a lot more videos like this coming your way, and we're going to follow this geoengineering because there's so much more on this topic alone that I could cover. Not just snowstorms, rain, floods, hurricanes, all of these things the US government has patents for. So we're definitely going to be diving deeper into this subject as time goes on. Thanks again, guys, for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!